What's good? What's good? I am back. Yours truly, one and only Paul Pickett, host of the Paul Pickett Podcast, aka Triple P, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for music, sports, politics, world events, and much, much more. So we about to bring on another guest, and as you know, we interview nothing but fighters on here, a lot of bare knuckle fighters, and a lot of BKFC fighters. But this guy is actually not in the BKFC, but he has a 1-2 record as a professional bare knuckle fighter. He fights for Havoc FC, which is Havoc Fighting Championship. If I'm not mistaken, it's out of Canada. Let's bring on the one and only James Flash Dalzell. Did I
What's
get your last
up?
name right? Is it Dalzell?
Dalzell, buddy. Yes, sir. I like to pronounce all the letters. Apparently, it was a Scottish name, and some
Okay.
pronounced it Dazzle, but
Oh, Dazzle?
we, you,
Okay.
you nailed it, buddy. You got it.
So, what were you doing before you got into bare knuckle?
Oh, man. So, bare knuckle's been in my blood since day one. Just a little bit of backstory on me. Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Thank you first off for having me, Paul. It's a pleasure to be on the
Yep.
on the show. I've been watching some of your gigs, and yeah, I love that you talk to bare knuckle because that's my jam, man. So just backtrack it right off the bat. When I was about 8 years old, I got into karate. Just learned
Okay.
it, learned some martial arts that way. But as I was in karate, my sensei asked what I wanted to be when I was older, and
Uh-huh.
I don't know why, but I remember this moment clear as day. I said I wanted to be a boxer, and I wanted to be a professional boxer at that. So that was in my head. My sensei thought that was ridiculous and basically talked me out of it. But it's always been in me. I started getting into hockey, started playing hockey, and got into a couple hockey fights. And crowd went bananas. And actually, it was the first time I'd seen my dad stand up and clap for me after I got into a nice tilt. We went toe to toe, throwing down, just like didn't even brother. No one ever seen me do it. So I remember looking at my dad, kind of just shyly, seeing if he was gonna, looking with his buddy. He shouldn't. But I looked up and he was standing like with the whole crowd just clapping, and so that was my bare knuckle. That's why I fell into bare knuckle and the boxing. When BKFC opened up, man, when I saw that was a thing, I was immediately drawn. I'd been training for a while to get into like UFC and go MMA because that was to me the upper echelon of fighting. But BKFC, man, since it's come in, I'm like, that's where I want to be. So yeah, I've been calling out everybody everywhere online. And Havoc, like you said, Havoc answered the call a year ago. I was ready. I said anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere. I meant it, and then I had my first pro bare knuckle fight, and I've just been knocking at every door since.
So basically, you got your opportunity by calling out other fighters. Were they like BKFC fighters?
No, I think the reason I got my opportunity is because I got my professional boxing license. I've been training boxing my whole life. I had a couple MMA fights. So I was talking to a couple of promoters. The promoter said, go get your professional boxing license. And they asked, what your record is, what's your background, this and that.
Mhm.
So I've got an amateur boxing record from 20 years ago. I used to box. Back in the day, I was a pretty good boxer. And like I said, a bare knuckle hockey fighter. But the last 20 years, I had some concussion issues in between. I kind of gave up on the fight dream. I was told to hang up my skates 10 years ago. And they didn't say just hang up your skates. They said I shouldn't be doing any contact sports. So
Uh-huh.
I gave up contact sports for about 6, 7 years. And I started training to get into track in 2020. In 2020, I was like I wanted to compete in the Masters in Toronto.
Mhm.
They were having the World Championships in Toronto. I was ready, hometown here in Canada. I was ready to train and go for that. But then, of course, stuff got shut down and things happened, and the championships were canceled. And the reason why I got into track again is because I started feeling really good, getting into athlete mode. I wasn't allowed to fight or do contact sports, so I figured track was a good way to go. So been hustling at that, and then COVID that was going on, and we were all stuck in our house. I was mentally going through a lot of stuff, and I was like, I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life right now. I feel better than I've ever felt, and BKFC's got this awesome thing going on. I'm like, I think that I want to bare knuckle fight. Like that's my jam. That's what I want to do. So yeah, first off, I messaged David Feldman a couple of years ago, and we were actually having some conversations.
Mhm.
It sounded like he sounded like he was going to bring me in, but like literally about a week later, he's like, "We'll talk in a week. We'll talk to some doctors." And honestly, a week later, it just blew up, and they've been signing the biggest fighters on the planet. And yeah, I'm still knocking at the door, still asking. But yeah, I fought for Havoc last year, answering the bell. I always do. Anybody they asked, I said 100%. I'll take that fight. And BKFC, I told Nate Shook, I told David Feldman, I said, let me just put me on any card against anybody. I honestly, I'm telling you, we're gonna put on a show. I promise. I don't care who it is.
So, what can you tell us about Havoc FC Fighting Championship?
Yeah, man, Havoc is a phenomenal Canadian promotion. It's in Alberta, Red Deer. They
Okay.
strictly run out of Red Deer. They've been going at, so last year was my first year with them. They've been their last event was 19 Havoc FC 19. So they've been doing it a while. Really great spot, great fight, and great fighters, man. They were the first ones to bring Bare Knuckle to Canada. They actually just beat BKFC by a week. So
Okay.
I was trying to get onto the BKFC fight, but I just had a fight a week prior with Havoc. So they actually are the first to bring Bare Knuckle to Canada in quite a while. So very, very awesome promotion to be part of. And yeah, they fed me the best, and I had a couple of big tilts in 2024. And like I said, I'm just knocking on whoever's door, and I want to take on the best on the planet.
So how long ago was that when they brought BK or Bare Knuckle to Canada? Actually.
It was just about a year ago. I
Okay.
should have it was January because it was just I think they just allowed it to pass like this time last year. And I was on the first card of it. Actually, it was February 14th, February 14th or 18th. It was right before the BKFC. I think it was like a couple weeks. And then yeah, man, it was pretty wild. And now they've been running the events, bare knuckle on every show. I did all three of the shows they had last year. And yeah, some great bare knuckle talent there, man. They have a couple BKFC fighters that have fought with them too.
So are most of their fighters Canadian?
Yeah, everybody that's fought in bare knuckle there so far for last year, I believe that all the bare knuckle fighters were Canadian. Yes, and we got some of the best on the planet, man. I'm telling you, I fought Tim Tamaki twice this year, and this guy is an MMA legend. Like his name's Tim the Chin, and he
Okay.
stands by it. 55 pro fights, dude's never been stung. He actually told me after the last fight, it's the first time anybody's ever rung his bell, and I could see it in his eyes too. So it was cool. I mean, kind of a weird thing, but but cool to hear that one of the best is, you know, get in there and have him feel something he's never felt before.
So you got BKFC has the squared circle as they call it. BYB has the triangle ring. What is it like fighting in the octagon cage for bare knuckle?
Oh man, I love it. Like that's. I'll be real with you. The cage is, it's the OG. My man, I don't know if Gary Goodrich is my corner, my man. Like he's my mentor, trainer, coach, manager, and he just seeing that the original that cage, man, just being in a cage, you feel like a caged animal. There's nothing quite like that. I love it.
So I watched your first fight with Josh. How you pronounce his name?
Yes, sir. Joshua Lattiser.
Okay, and you won. And a win is a win, but I do feel like that fight could have went on a little bit longer off
Oh,
of a split
100%.
lip.
Dude,
You
I would say it was an early stoppage, but in the same breath, like you couldn't see what the doctors see. And
yeah.
what I saw, I could see the look in his eyes, like, he tried to kick me right before, right? Like he
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah, yeah.
right. So it's tough, right? You look at something like that, you're like, oh, he split his lip wide open. That was an early stoppage. And yeah, but the shot, like I hit him with a couple shots, and you can't because he's tough as hell. These guys
Yeah.
are tough, right? You guys bare knuckle fighters aren't weak. And we're Canadians, we're like, you know what I mean? It's like we're tough. I think I broke my knuckle on the guy's on his face, right? Like, dude's tough. But there was a look in his eye for a second there, and it's like, didn't. But I don't know. Maybe at the time, I think he didn't want to continue, but he's asked for a rematch. We were trying to set rematches up all year. Absolute warrior he is, and I can't wait. We will go again at some point whenever the time is right.
Do you feel like is he a former MMA fighter himself?
Yes, yes, he is. He had 11 pro MMA fights before that fight. So yeah,
So
he was, but he's a striker, right? And he's a swinger. It was a great matchup, and it would have been these fights easily could have been fight of the night contention every time if they, it's just, you never know with bare knuckle. Things
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
And ultimately, I think it's important they do take care of the fighters. Like I said, he got his bell rung, and a couple more shots in bare knuckle. It's you bust some people up.
Do you think being in the octagon, if you're a former MMA fighter, you might could like forget that it's actually bare knuckle instead of MMA, and that's why he might have kicked you?
100%, and I could tell right away. Like I said,
Yeah,
I hit him with a bomb, right? And it
yeah,
was hard to tell because it didn't, but it was a bomb. And he might have just forgot where he was for a second. Saw the
yeah,
cage, thinks killer instinct, right? I didn't
yeah,
take any
yeah.
offense or anything else to it, but it's again, it wasn't, you didn't, it wasn't intentional, but that's a good indication to show like, okay, maybe he did get his bell rung pretty hard.
So you got 2 straight losses against this Tim Tamaki.
Yeah.
The first fight was a lot quicker than the second, so it seems like the second you definitely learned something about this guy, but it was still a knockout. What do you feel like is still your biggest mistake or mistakes with fighting this guy?
Yeah, okay. I'll give you a breakdown first off. I went into the first fight with Tim Tamaki. Like I said, I've had 100 fights bare knuckle on skates, right? And I've never been knocked down in a fight. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, the chin, we're gonna swing, and I'm gonna come out and smash this guy, and I'm gonna be victorious. And I dropped my hands. You know what I mean? I let him because I thought I could take a couple shots at 145. I've been hit by 195. I've been hit by 210 by
Yeah.
monsters. So I thought
Yeah.
I could take it, and bare knuckle, right? On skates. So my bad. I thought I could take it, but he hit me right in the chin, right in the button, dropped me, and yeah. So I knew going in. I learned like, okay, well, you can't. I'm not invincible this way. So the second fight went, and same type of deal. But here was the biggest issue for me in the second fight mentally, man. Like just so because nobody knows, I don't complain. I don't say anything. But before the fight, like the weigh-in, everything was cool at the weigh-in. Weigh-ins were all good. But I went to talk to the doctors. They went through everything.
Mhm.
Physically, I was ready to go. But they found white matter or something that wasn't there a year ago. Right. This is
What's
the other
that?
thing with
What's white matter?
so in your brain, you have white matter in your brain. It's always kind of there, but it's usually not showing. So
Okay.
it was showing. There was a spot basically on my brain that they were like, huh, that wasn't there a year ago. We need to search that. But my doctor was like, no, everything should be good. We'll put an MRI in just to be safe. Everything else. So, but the doctors, of course, there, they all had to talk about it and say, hey, what like we got to look into this. This might not be a thing that happens. So anyway, there's a lot of talk that basically that night they told me that that fight was not likely to happen. I said just so I have somewhat of a something going on in my like what are the odds that I actually get to fight? And the doctor said, well, honestly, not good. So the commission went through doctors and neurologists and had all kinds of calls and meetings. And the next day I sat down with 7 of them. They gave me a stack of paper and they basically said, like, ultimately you're deciding here, but just so you know, these are the consequences. We don't know. This could happen. Like, basically went into that fight thinking, live or die, as you always do. That's always an option. But literally,
Yeah.
like signing my life away that nobody's the only person liable right now is you.
Yeah.
So a lot going on in my head. He hit me with a couple good shots, and it's hey bare knuckle, man. I took a couple bombs again, and Tim Tamaki's an absolute pro, right? He's got 55 pro fights. That was my third, regardless of all the street fights, everything else. How tough you are, the dude's like mentally that wins fights, right? And the guy's been there, done that, knows what's up. So we'll go again at some point. It might have been a big jump for me to fight one of the best in Canada right off the bat. But like I said, that's who I want. I want the best. I want to test it. I want to test where I'm at. And again, I know that I could come out winning against him. Might make the right decisions.
Now, the fact that you fought him back to back, are y'all limited in fighters in this league?
Yeah, apparently, because then that's the thing too. 145, which is a great division, but apparently nobody wants to fight in it.
Yeah.
Here in Canada. So that's what they were basically. I was told that at the last one. It's like, I dude, we're trying to find guys to fight you, but just and I don't know what else it is. Like I Robert Desharnais, who's fought a couple times for BKFC, the Slim Reaper. Like I'm pretty certain he's 145. I keep my eyes on this. I'm like, I don't like calling guys out because I do online for fun because I'll call up Kai Stewart all the time as I want to yell out at the best. I want to yell out at the
Yeah.
best. It's Rocky here. Like I know I can go in and bang with anybody on the planet at 145. I know that for a fact.
So you be calling out King Kai, huh?
Well, just for fun, King Kai versus King James. Let's go. Like I 100% would do it. I told BKFC, I told Nate. I mean, they kind of had a laugh, because a 1-2 fighter from Canada is not going to fight the 8-0 champ BKFC. But I'm like, I know, I get it, but I just want you guys to know, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming for it.
Yeah, that's actually in the BKC. That's a really stacked division. I mean, you got King Kai, Brandon Allen, you
Yeah,
got El
stacked.
Gallo, you got Howard Davis,
It's probably the
Jimmy
best division. It's the best
Rivera.
division in the whole thing, man. I'd say, which is cool, and that's where I want to be. Let's bring Connor back too. I bet you can get down to 145. We should throw him in that tournament they're talking about, and off we go.
So, is the ultimate goal here is to try to get into the BKFC or possibly the BYB?
That was the ultimate goal. To be honest, I started a federation myself with Gary Goodrich, and we're doing the first event in May here in Barrie. It's an MMA here because right now, because it's not legal in Ontario to do bare knuckle. But my goal is to be the first to bring bare knuckle to Canada. I think I've told a lot of people that too. I want to work with BKFC though. I want to
Yeah.
work with the best guys, and whoever it may be. I have no either way. I've talked to matchmaker Mel in BYB. I've let all the guys know. They all know, and I just say, hey,
Yeah.
I'll hop in my car. I'll drive over there and I'll throw down anytime you need me. I told them I told them for Knuckle Mania to say, hey, just whoever. If somebody drops out, just know I'm ready at the drop of a dime.
So, I guess you're talking about the official fight federation. Is-
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, when is your first event? You said
Sorry, it's
when you say
snowy
the
and
first event was
the first event is May 9th.
May 9th.
May 9th in Barrie, Ontario, Canada. It's going to be awesome. They just opened up. I'm sorry, spot here. They just opened
You
up
good?
amateur MMA. So
Okay.
like they couple wicked changes in combat sports here in Canada and in Ontario specifically. So
Uh-huh.
really excited about that. So May 9th, like I said, they were just getting the details down, starting to talk to the fighters. It's going to be a pro-am event, first of its kind in Ontario, and absolutely stoked. Gary Goodrich, like I said, going to be a big part of it. We got a good team putting this together, and then I'm inviting on BKFC, BYB, all these guys to come take a look, because we got some tough guys here. This is the up and comers official. I love the name of it, the official fight federation. Like I'm starting it here in Canada, homemade in Gary Goodrich's backyard. He's from Barrie, so it's pretty neat. I'm from Penetanguishene, very small town, so
Okay.
thought about doing it here, but it's not even big enough.
And how many fights do you expect to have on this card?
We're aiming for 12. We're aiming for
12.
about 12, just because how things happen. If one or two have to fall by the wayside, like, and we're aiming for like 6 pro, 6 amateur fights is kind of the goal. We
And
might
on
we
this
might we
Havoc
might do a couple.
FC,
Pardon
do
me.
they got any females yet? Does Havoc and FC got any female fighters yet?
So that's a big one. That's what I was going to throw out there too. Thank you for asking. So they didn't have any in the 3 fights I was at. I believe they would, and that's something I 100% said we need to make sure
Yeah.
there's a couple really good female fights, because there's some amazing women out there in the sport. I've messaged a couple. I think I got a couple that are the words out. There's a couple that are interested that could be really really big, and I'm super excited about. I'm not going to say names or anything yet, because managers and it's they're just we're just in the infancy of it right now. So
Yeah, the females tend to have a better chance of getting fight of the night because they usually go like the distance in their fights.
big time, and it's wild. They always throw down, man. It's kind of the way I look at this, back kind of like back in the day. Sometimes the heavyweights, if they kept going and they get tired, it gets slower. And the 145s, the little dudes were going crazy. Like every
Yeah.
female fighter are like the little spat, like crazy tough dudes with like they got a combination of both, man. It's they're you can't differentiate what's better anymore. I feel, and most women fight lately. Most female fights have been by far the fights of the night in a lot of shows.
Now, how do you feel about the future of bare knuckle fighting?
Oh my goodness, dude! It's the fastest growing for a reason. I think that this is not going anywhere. That's why I'm jumping on board so fast. That's why I want to. I put it all on bare knuckle. I think bare knuckle's the future. It's which is
Yeah,
weird, right? We're bringing back the past to
yeah,
for the
yeah,
future. It's the best. I'm doing studies on it for like we're talking about keeping athletes safe and brain health. You take way less brain damage with bare
yep,
knuckle, way less, like not even a question.
yep. And
And
fighters
it's
can
yeah.
actually fight a lot quicker because they'll go in there and might knock somebody out with one punch, two punches, don't get a scratch, and they're able to fight probably next month.
100%. That's why this tournament that BKFC is doing, I love it. And honestly, I was thinking about earlier today because I'm like, how is maybe there's a way we can figure this out, talking with all these rules and everything, out where we can go back to we can do 3 fights in a night if you don't get hit. You
Yeah.
win some. You see guys they end fights in 8 seconds. You can do you can do that. If you go in and pop guys, you don't get hit. You could have 3 fights in a night and only be a minute.
Speaking of that tournament, what have you heard about that tournament?
As much as everybody else, man. It's I keep throwing out my ideas at it because all I've heard is that it's going to be a tournament. Originally, they said like 1,000. It was anybody, whatever. But then the last I heard was that it's narrowed down to like 64. I haven't
Yeah.
heard anything about weight class or anything else. But I keep throwing. I said, do it at 145. Do it at 145. Kai's undefeated. He's trying to find. They're trying to find somebody. I know there's all kinds of great matchups, but let's just walk. Let's walk down the line with it.
So I interviewed Justin Martinez yesterday, who's fighting at BKFC Pachanga, and he said it's 145 and up. But we were talking about it's really confusing because
That's
are you
tough.
gonna have a guy like Mick Terrell fight somebody like Kai Stewart? Like that's
Well,
not
that's the
even really
thing.
fair.
Doesn't make sense. And
Yeah,
that's where it's going to get interesting because
yeah.
I mean, I guess you could go. Maybe this is what's happening. You could maybe do an open weight class, right? It's nutty. It's nutty, but then the 145ers like me and Kai will probably start putting on a bit of weight because that kind of money, 100% is Kumite shit, right? Like, sorry for pardon me, but
Now you
but
good?
this is
You good?
like I'm in. I'll put on
Yeah.
25 pounds to do it.
Now, how do you feel about the fighters coming out of Canada? And is there any other fighters that you know that people should be look on the lookout for?
Well, 100%. There's some amazing fighters in Canada. Like I said, Tim Tamaki just beat me twice. 100%. That's the dude. I'm certain he's gonna be fighting for the title for Havoc at 145. The guys fought him all. Tough as hell. Again, I came into all this to be that guy. My
Uh-huh.
goal for 2024 was to be 4-0, knock on BKFC's door and smash it. Like that's why Robert Desharnais. I want that fight pretty bad. He's 2-0, looks great on paper at BKFC. Same kind of controversy, maybe early fight stoppage or weird ones. But that's the fight I want. He's 2-0 in BKFC. He's Canadian. He's 145. I'd love that fight. And that's why I'm maybe going to throw it on May 9th. Maybe I ask him and I don't, for MMA, we just say, screw it. We're standing and we're boxing with these gloves on because that's all we can do in Canada.
Now, I've seen you on millions.co and you be doing watch parties. How often are you doing these watch parties?
Well, this is I'm doing my first one actually this Saturday. They
Okay.
just approached me on it, and I couldn't wait. I'm excited, so I'm doing one UFC 311, and then I'm going to actually be doing Knuckle Mania. So I'm pretty excited about this. These are the first two that I'm doing. Stoked to just be able to sit there, watch the fights, analyze, talk about the way I see it and what's up. And yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, they just texted me today. They asked me about doing one this weekend, but I keep telling them you gotta let me know a week in advance because I got so much going on. Because I got another podcast too, but I'm definitely gonna be doing something for Knuckle Mania. I know that much.
Nice. Maybe we can hop on it together or something.
That's what
Let's
I was
go.
thinking, man. Maybe we could figure something out where we can do it together and possibly bring in some other fighters from BKFC and whatnot. I mean, I've interviewed a bunch of fighters last year, and we'll be interviewing a lot more this year as well. So
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, you're talking to some of the best, right? It's an honor to be on your show. So thank you again for having me.
now I saw something. I want to make sure this is true. Did you run for mayor in Toronto?
That is 100% true. Yeah. So this is some stuff. People don't believe a lot of stuff about me because I honestly am. I'm a little bit crazy. I'm a Gemini. I've actually ran yeah, I ran for the mayor of Toronto. Story on that was Rob Ford, right? The mayor of Toronto, the crack mayor. All
Uh-huh.
the stories going on that. all the wildness. And I'm in Toronto. I got to vote. That's our right. We have to vote. And I said, I'm a man of my word. I said, if he runs again and they allow it because there's so much crazy stuff going on, I said I'm going to run against him. And then they allowed him to run. Everything was allowed, so I ran for mayor. And then I also, I like to really test life. The truth of it all was, you need a lot of money and you need a lot of backing to do it properly. So it was a nice little life lesson. But I've been running for council every year since then here in Penetanguishene, and I just threw my name out for PM since ours just backed down, and I'm 100% like I'm a
Prime
fighter.
Minister?
Yeah, buddy, why not? I'm gonna write my own name on that ballot. I'm the only person I trust.
Now, Canada, they're about as politically divided as America right now, aren't they?
100%, man. It's crazy. This is the world we live in right now.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't want to stay on politics too much.
Fair.
I know it becomes like it could become very divisive conversations for a lot of people. So you're gonna be trying to fight at basically your event coming up, right? And you
Yeah.
got any more fights lined up for the Havoc FC though right now?
Well, it's nothing yet. I haven't. They have an event on March 28th. It's going to
Okay.
be on millions.co as well with the pay-per-view. And I haven't heard anything. I think because, like you said, there's so little 145s. I imagine I'm pretty certain Tim Tamaki's fighting on the card, and they're not going to
Okay.
give us three. But you know what I mean. So I think they found somebody else for him, and that's fair.
Yeah.
I was blessed to be the face of the event for them a couple times on their poster and whatnot. So it's. I don't believe that I'm gonna have a fight there, but like I said, I'm looking. There's so many BKFC events. I've told the guys like I'll cross the border. I'll do whatever. Just I'll get there. I'm ready. I'm ready to fight anytime. BKFC, BY, they all know. So I'll probably likely get a last minute fight at some point. I hope I imagine before I'm really hoping to have a fight like soon, because then I'm going full in on May 9th.
And when you say it's gonna be streaming on millions.co, are you gonna be doing like a listening party for that or?
No, I just made they show the pay per view. The Havoc FC will have their pay per view on Millions.
Okay. And where do they usually is that the only place that you can typically go to watch it?
Yeah, I believe it's either just on Millions or live at the Red Deer Casino.
And what kind of crowds are they pulling at these events?
Some great crowds, man. I think the last one was 1,500. Pretty decent
That's
for
not
just as
bad. That's not bad.
as many as it can hold in there. Like it's not a huge venue, so
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
So they do the same venue every time?
They have been, yeah. So I think I think I walked into a new era of Havoc FC because it was their first event at that venue on in February, and then I
Mhm.
worked all three with them, and it just getting better every time. They sell that place out, and yeah, it's a great venue, good spot to be, a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm just kind of trying to replicate it a little bit in Ontario now, but a bit bigger. Barry's and I want to travel with the official fight federation too. So in May we're gonna have a big. It's a whole. It sounds like they can hold about 3,500, 4,000 people. Um, Great venue. OHL. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's the Ontario Hockey League. The Barrie Colts play
No.
out of there. Just a really nice state, like great stadium. Good time. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, that seems really smart because I know BKFC, they milked the hell out of that Hollywood, Florida Seminole Hard Rock Cafe over and over again. You can count at least every 3 or 4 months that they're gonna be there.
Yeah, man. They should. It's a great spot, and they get the people in. Everybody loves it, right? Speaking of that, I know I don't want to talk politics or anything else, but I want to give the love out to everybody in LA and in California with the fires. I'm a firefighter as well. I told my wife that I'd announce it on here that like I'm a volunteer firefighter. I want to volunteer my services out there if I can help anywhere. We do a lot of search and rescue. I know there's a lot of stuff going on. If I can help, I definitely want to help out there.
You know who else is a firefighter? I've interviewed him. He's probably one of the greatest human beings I've ever interviewed and have the luxury to meet, and that's Chris Lights Out Lido, man.
Nice. I didn't know Lionel was a firefighter. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
he's
And
been
I
a
can tell.
lifetime firefighter. Yeah.
Amazing. And I love that, dude. And that's where I've had so many conversations with my wife about it. Like fighting is my goal. I want to do this with my life. This is my thing. And being a firefighter, some of this some of this stuff is hard to try and work together, but ultimately something like this happens, and I'm like, how can I help? How can I volunteer my services? And I was talking to it to my wife, like just talking about it and thinking it through today. It's like I gotta try and find a way to get out there and help how I can.
I think something that upset me, like on the political spectrum, is that firefighters were bunched in with police.
Yeah,
And I'm
it's
just like,
different.
that's like apples and oranges that y'all comparing, man. It really
100%, man.
is.
It is different, and I mean, there's a lot of the similarities and brotherhood type stuff with it,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it is quite different, right? Like as a firefighter, for me, like we're all lumped in as first responders, but ultimately, our goal, our job is to save lives, right? We're
Yeah.
putting out fires and helping people to save lives, and it is the most rewarding thing possible, I think.
Yeah, it takes a certain kind of person to risk their life to save other lives. I would say majority of society is far too selfish for that.
I
So
100% agree, man.
I definitely commend you for that. Now, how often would you like to fight as a bare knuckle fighter? I'm hearing like 5 to 6 fights a year is like the high number for most people.
For sure, man. Like I was aiming for my goal. I been telling all the promoters too that I want to be the most active fighter as well. And I
Yeah.
think if to be that would probably be five or six would be the most active. And you could
Yeah.
do it as long as you're ending fights quick and do like you could definitely do it in bare knuckle. But I think a realistic goal is as we saw kind of last year. Last year, hopefully not as many losses, but four fights, go 4-0, move through that kind of quarterly pretty quick. I think that that's sort of a fair move. That was the goal last year. I wanted to finish the year with 4 or 5 fights. Obviously being undefeated is a nice goal, but it's bare knuckle losses happen, and you're gonna see. I think you're gonna see that a little bit more. The guys lose fights. You're not gonna
Yeah,
see
yeah.
unblemished records unless guys are really handpicking, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say that that's one thing that fighters can't really dwell on is going undefeated for so long. Even Kai Stewart's going to run into that person that's going
For sure.
to take him out, you know. I mean, because like Ryan Reber, one of my fighters, he was undefeated 5-0, 6-0. As soon as he got in there with Blas, I mean, Blas did what Blas does, you know, and they'd be like, you know, can he make it out the first round? Well, like, he doesn't have to because nobody can make it past the first round with him.
100%, man. That's just the nature of it, and that's my goal. Like people say, "Oh man, you don't get your fights in the first round." I'm like, 100%. I'm gonna finish the fights, or they're gonna get. I'm gonna. It's one round. We're going two
Yeah,
minutes, and we're going
yeah.
bananas because we're putting on a show. And if you can get out of the 2 minutes, or I can get out of the 2 minutes, well, we're gonna put on a nice show.
And how many rounds are y'all doing in Havoc?
We've been it's been different per contract, but like
Uh-huh.
they try and aim for the 2 minutes 5 rounds. The last I've been doing the ones I've been signing have been 2 2 minute rounds, 4 rounds. Um,
Okay.
but I think that the heavyweights and the champions, I think that they did like they signed a weird. It was like 3 minutes 6 rounds or 2 minute. I don't know. It was different. It was different than what you're used to in BKFC and typical bare knuckle.
Yeah, cause well, BYB I think does 3 minute rounds
I,
if I'm not
yeah, I
mistaken.
believe they do three
BKFC
as
does
well.
the 2 minute, but even 4 minutes, 4 rounds at 2 minutes can be very tiring for some fighters. I mean, look at Loco Soto and Tenaglia. They got to the fourth round and it looked like a Rocky movie, man.
Dude, 8 minutes of throwing bare knuckle bombs is an eternity. We're
Yeah,
here to fight, right? Most of these guys, all of us, like we're here to put on a show, and that means as many punches and as that much action as possible. And we're going until one of the guys falls. If it takes 8 minutes, yeah, it's going to be deadly.
now how do you feel about fighting in the clinch?
That's I love it. I love it. It's my thing. I'm a hockey fighter, right? So I'm used to. I'm I don't even want to do it anymore. My jab is really, really, really good. My left's solid, but I don't use it because I instinct hockey fight, grab and clinch right away, clinch and
Yeah.
chuck. So I love it. It's a great part of the game. I love that you can use it, but I gotta get my I gotta get it out of my mentality and start using the left a bit more.
What do you think is something that, like, if somebody comes from boxing or MMA that they get in the bare knuckle? What's something that they probably underestimate or they're really not expecting to happen in bare knuckle?
I think they underestimate the absolute toughness of it, man. It's different to get hit by a bare knuckle. It's different to go bone on bone, man. When your cheek's getting a knuckle in the face or your jaw's taking that, it's a different beast. And I think most guys know that. You hear MMA guys all the time. Oh, you're nuts, man. I'd never do that. I'm like, this, yeah, it's a different beast, man. The MMA guys, I just don't think, or the guys that haven't done it, they just
Yeah.
don't know what they're in for.
Yeah, because a lot of the BKFC fighters, they like clamoring and licking their lips to fight these guys that want to come over from boxing and think they're just gonna get in their bare knuckle, or come over from the MMA and think they're gonna get in a bare knuckle. Because I mean, you can't wrestle, you can't kick, can't throw no knees, elbows. All you could do is really active clinches and put your hands behind their neck, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, basically, and you have to be active. So if you clinch, you gotta be swinging and throwing, and yeah, it's
And are the rules in Canada about exactly the same as the rules in the United States for bare knuckle?
for yeah. Havoc's been running with the same rule set. I believe it's there. They go with the. I actually think it's the. Which they either New Jersey. Is there a New Jersey state law or boxing bare knuckle boxing law? They go by one of the U.S. ones, so it's probably the exact same
Okay.
bare knuckle, the same as BKFC.
Now, is there any fighters in BKFC that you actually study?
Oh man, I watch them all. Kai's one that I really watch, and I find it interesting because he does fight a very different style.
Yeah,
Yeah, I study them all. I do watch a lot of them, man, and it's super interesting to you see like bare knuckle is so different. You have guys that are very technical, great boxing, like head movement. Some guys really use their weight properly. Some guys are just very evasive and don't get hit. I thought Kai Stewart for one is super interesting as coming from like a wrestling background.
yeah,
It
yeah.
still doesn't. I still can't compute how he's doing it. He's somebody I really truly, in all respect and honor, would love to fight because I think it's an interesting matchup. I know him and Durang get like that's gonna get hyped up pretty good and it makes sense. And I think that's gonna be a great tilt. But just yeah, no, the 145 is an awesome division, man, and I love just everybody's got such a different style, and I think I match up against any one of them really well.
Why do you think he's hated so much?
Kai,
Yeah, they hate. I mean, the other fighters, they just like really shit on Kai.
I know, but I think I can tell. I know my guess, my assumption on it is because he's like the John Jones of bare knuckle. Like he just finds ways to win.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's a different style. His style. I don't understand it. I'm like, there's no how does this guy
Yeah.
keep going distance in fights? Like it doesn't make sense. Like I want to get in there because I'm like, no, my fights don't. It's bare knuckle fights. They don't last that long. They shouldn't last that long. So I think guys hate on him just because he finds a way to pick you apart and win. He's a winner. That's why I really love and respect and want an opportunity to go with him because I want to get him in there and just test. Let's test the both of us. He just finds a way to win, and I think people don't like that, right?
And I think they might underestimate him because of his age of being so young. I mean, he's the youngest champion in BKFC history, if I'm not mistaken.
100, yeah,
And
and he will be for a
yeah,
long
and
time.
nobody can figure him out. Nobody can figure him out. It's crazy.
I know.
And
That's why I love it, right? I'm like, I got this game plan where I'm like, I know how to beat him. I know I can beat him, but everybody else has thought that too. So it's interesting, and you know what? Commend him. He just keeps winning. But like you
yeah,
said, it's bare knuckle, and at some point, the right person's going to come along, or the wrong person for him, I guess, right? And
well, I really grew to love him around the Howard Davis fight because
it,
that's when I first got into interviewing the bare knuckle fighters. And me and this other guy were doing a show, Circle of Kings. He's now with Knuckletown Official and whatnot because we had a falling out. But I know for a fact, because somebody who got me into this works for BKFC, and I know that some of the people for BKFC, they wanted Howard Davis to win that match because Shaq is his sponsor. And then it didn't work that way. And then they wanted El Gallo to win because he's like the big ticket seller, But like selling tickets ain't gonna help you in the ring. And I don't know if they necessarily wanted Jimmy Rivera to win, even though Jimmy Rivera's he's a legend, you know. But I think at this point, like they realize they gotta stop betting against this guy, man.
For sure, for sure. It's wild, right? They keep setting it up for him to lose. Like it's,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's 100%. I get what you're saying, and you can see it. You can see
yeah,
it. They're leaning onto it now because they have to, right? Like
yeah,
he
yeah.
keep he deserves it. But yeah, I know. I see. Even as an outsider, as a promoter, as somebody deep in the game who studied all of it, I can see what you're saying.
How do you feel about the politics of the fight game? Because that's definitely part of the politics of the fight game.
Yeah, man, it's like honestly, it's like politics and everything. I don't like it. I hate it. But you know what? I'll run for prime minister because I don't like the politics. I think it's ridiculous. But truth be told, that's life, and it has to happen. And sometimes you got to stand up and fight for stuff.
Now, are you running as a conservative, a libertarian, independent, or a
Well,
Democrat?
have to be independent. I don't think anybody would latch on with me, but so
Yeah,
I'm going to be a write-in candidate. To say like more as a joke, just to be like, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you some truth though. I work for Canada Post, which is a big thing. Not talking politics or anything else, but strikes are going on and all kinds of other things. Just like the world is, there's some stuff going on in the world, and I want to go right to the top with it and be real. Like, hey guys, we all need to open our eyes and we need to talk. We need to talk about this stuff as much as there's things we keep our mouths shut about. We need to talk about it because it's people are getting stepped on and hurt and crushed. And that's not we as humans, I don't care what it is. We need to stick up for each other and help each other.
and fighters seem to be guys that will take a stance, and be vocal. You got what's his name? Sean what's that fighter's name? Sean something that always getting political. He just got in a
Oh,
fight
Strickland,
recently.
Sean Strickland.
Sean Strickland, he's very
Yeah, he's
political.
always good. Yeah, well, you're right. And they're all, Dana White was maybe, let's be real, Dana White and Joe Rogan were probably the reason why Trump gets elected. Take those two away, you flip the coin on that, they turn that whole
Yeah,
thing over. 100%, they flip that, right? So fighters are fighters. At the end of the day,
yeah.
it's in your heart. It doesn't matter what it is. You fight or flight, right? And the fighters are going to fight for whatever it is.
And even John Jones, he didn't say nothing, but just getting out and handing Trump the belt. That's a statement in itself, right there. And
Big
I've
time.
noticed fighters they seem to lean more on the conservative side from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. The ones that they show, I mean, at least in UFC, the ones that they really throw out there, it's they're making it evident. It's obvious where they're going with it. I don't know, but it's fighters to me, honestly. The more I look at it and look into politics and everything else, it's all got to change, and everybody's got to get it figured out together because there's parts of all of them that are good, but there's also parts of them, all of them, that are not. And like we can't, I don't think we can lean on one thing anymore. And we're seeing that, right? It's like a 50-50 tear. So we need to get
Yeah,
together and figure out,
yeah.
okay, well, what works for everybody here? Let's make this work right.
And I think it doesn't help when like leagues like the NBA take a political stance where they just lean solely on one side, and they're just totally biased against the other side. I think that really doesn't help things out. It just tears people because like when people want to be entertained, I mean, we already got politics in movie. We don't need it in every single sport.
100%, man. Sport is the beauty thing for me for sport, and this is why, like you said, we don't. There's a reason why you keep them separate because
Yeah.
sports to get away from all that stuff. It's to
Yeah.
entertain. We want to
Yeah.
entertain the world. This is why all this shit is crazy now. For real, we're all entertained by politics now, and that's taken
Yeah.
over the right. And now, okay, we got to be careful what we say. We got to watch this and that. It's becoming too much, and that's we can't even get away from it. And people are so torn. It's so 50-50. There's no, it's black or white. There's no gray area.
Yeah.
And we can't and that's that's a big human flaw right now. We got to
It
just
is.
get together and be like, guys, what are we doing? We're tearing not only ourselves apart, we're destroying the planet. Like, let's get this figured out.
Yeah, I don't really see it going back. I just know when I go watch a BKFC fight, I don't want to be shamed into voting a certain way. I know that
No
much.
kidding. Go in there and fight. You get mad. I mean, some people, you let people say what they want to say, but but you want to
Yeah.
entertain and you want to fight. You keep that out of it sometimes, right?
So a lot of fighters I've interviewed say it's hard making a living as a fighter. Now, with that being said, does the fight journey always have to be about the love of the sport and the competition?
Man, ultimately, yes, I think it does. I mean, it does for me. It's different for different people, but I love this. I've had to work 100 jobs. It's like acting. It's like everything else in entertainment. You need to love this with everything you got because it's going to be near impossible to make a living. I had three
Yeah.
fights last year. You'd think that would have been great. That wasn't going to pay the bills. That was You got fight camps. You got to train for that. That's the time, energy, mental focus, everything you got to put into this game to do it and do it properly. Yeah, like don't be expecting to go out there and make a lot of money. You need to go through all of this other stuff first. Maybe it'll happen eventually, but the
And it
odds are so slim.
and even more so with bare knuckle because it's such a young sport, right?
Big time. The money's not there right now. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully it is now with this tournament. That's going to open a lot of eyes, and I think it's going to be fantastic. It's such a cool concept, which we still don't really know exactly what it is, but I love the idea behind it. You're putting 5 million on the line. That's huge, right? Like was it 5 or was it bigger than that?
It's 25 million.
25. Yeah. See, it was like give
So
me five hundred
so
dollars and I'm fighting. So
I
like,
think
I can't even fathom
yeah, I
for
think
the
one
tournament.
fighter will win like 15 million, but there's
Yeah.
gonna be 10 million of other prizes, I guess, spread out. So there
Yeah.
could be multiple fighters could come out here with some M's in their pocket.
For sure. And it's phenomenal. It's great to see, right? Like there's money
Yeah.
in the sport. There's money in this for sure. And it's nice to see it going back to the fighters because ultimately that's what it's about. It's about the fighters. That's who's bringing in the crowd. That's who's bringing in the money.
I think it's a very bold move being that BKFC is not really hit profitability yet. Feldman just said recently he hopes they get it this year. And they're going to Italy. When they going to Dubai, they should make a lot of money in Dubai. I know that much.
It's the year I can tell for BKFC, man. I'm just sitting here applauding. I've messaged Feldman a number of times just to, always give him his props. He's a busy man, got a lot going on, but like he's obviously just doing it right. And I just like massive props. BKFC is doing exactly what my dream is. Like it's wicked. I'd love to just be part of that journey. It's phenomenal, and I don't see it going anywhere. BYB
Yeah,
as well. I love everything that they're doing, but it
yeah.
just right now, in all honesty, it seems like BKFC they're starting to not only take over the sport, combat sports in general. It's looking like the biggest thing going.
I think the reason why BKFC is better than BYB is when I'm watching it, the production looks different. The guys commentating are not as good, and the names of BYB for some reason they just don't stand out as much to me.
It's very true, man. Like, Mark Irwin was one of the ones that was really to me like throwing BYB on his back. I didn't hear a lot from many other fighters, but
Yeah,
Mark the Shark Irwin, you hear about, he's out there being a character. He's doing for the sport what you need from guys, right? But I'm with you. It's just I love it. I love the big man running the show. He's always got his hype going and everything, but then it just seems to have a little bit. It doesn't have the same hype. The production quality, like all that stuff you talk about, is huge. You need the right announcers. You need to
yeah.
bring the right game, which is kind of weird too. Because isn't Goldman's is he the announcer for them? But he's involved with BYB, I believe, right?
I think, and it's owned by. I know that Dada 5000. I think his name
Yes.
is. He came up with the triangle ring. You got
Yeah.
Mike Vasquez
Yes.
and Greg Bloom is CEO now, who's a sports entertainment lawyer. I interviewed him, and I'm supposed to be interviewing a lot more BYB fighters this year
It's
because I definitely like. I'm trying to, learn more. I mean, you got Gustavo, who used to be with
yeah.
BKFC over there. He's undefeated. They say LT Smash Nelson is the best bare knuckle fighter in the world,
Right.
from what I heard. But that fight got canceled, so that can't be a good look. You know, him and
Y-
James, I think Connolly, his name is.
Yeah.
But it's like when I go down BKFC, man. I mean, like you just said, we just said the featherweight, division. I mean, if you get to BKFC, I mean that's a tough division. You got Kai, you got El Gallo, Howard Davis has definitely got star power.
Yeah, man.
I'm a big Redneck Mundell fan. I feel like they do him wrong.
That's yeah, man. I'm glad you brought that up. I wouldn't mind touching on that too, because he's like, that's a weird one, right? That's a tough one because
Yeah,
he clearly wants Perry, and it's the only real fight like that makes sense, right?
yeah. At
And
this point,
so
yeah,
it's got to happen, and it's kind of it's weird because it does seem like Mike Perry doesn't want it, and I
yeah.
guess they're kind of like but at a certain point you just got to say, hey guys, this fight's happening. That's the fight. Like,
And,
it,
and Mike Perry's a star too. I ain't go, I'm not a big fan of him, but I'm not gonna front on him. I mean, you got Austin, no doubt, Trout,
yeah,
Rico Franco, who was literally, I've heard freaking Joe Rogan shout out.
yeah, man.
I
There's
mean,
some
you got
bangers.
stars in every division, man, pretty much.
And that's the thing, and I the game changer for it all too, right? If you let's just say you could feel BKFC climbing, you could sense it, right? Where you could feel it, and the Connor move, right? Like
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
seals the
Another
deal.
big
That
star.
seals the deal. I
Another
know
big
there's a
star.
lot again, speaking of politics or whatever, but at the end of this, Conor McGregor, and he's tying on with like he's here with you guys. He's like that, boom. That's the big move. That was a big move.
And I saw people shitting on the fact that we're going to be fighting in a bull fighting arena in Spain, and that turned out to be the best fight of the year at that spot.
Yeah, man. Like they're doing some wicked things. They're going to fight in Italy, like whatever. It's it's the best. I don't know, man. I don't think there's
You know what
anything
they
better. I
say?
think
Scared money don't make money, and I mean I will give Feldman that he's going for it. Very bold moves. I just wish he would give me the Mike Perry and Redneck fight. And I
yes,
wish you would stop leaning on these social media followers. Like even a cat like Houston Alexander I interviewed. This guy's 5-0, 6-0 with bare knuckle. And because he's like 51, 52, they like, nah, you can't fight
yeah.
no
I've
more.
been waiting for him to fight again, man. He's like it's Houston Alexander. He's a beast, and he's still doing it, right? Like he still looks like he could smash anybody, anybody.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's fared well. And that's another thing. Bare knuckle, I look at like what about it? It's kind of like this extension to your career. You know what I'm saying? Like
Big
if
time.
you don't you fizzle out in MMA, hey, guess what? You can still go to bare knuckle. You fizzle out in boxing, you could do like Austin No Doubt Trout and go win the belt in bare knuckle and have a second career. Is gonna definitely extend shelf life. I know what I was gonna say. It reminds me of the big three that Ice Cube started, where like
Yes.
the NBA players can actually go and play in there and make money, still playing basketball and still do what they love. Because I mean, as a fighter, like Redneck said, you can't retire from this stuff, man.
You
Even when
can't.
you hang it up, there's not really no really retiring from the fight game. You're probably gonna start training fighters or something, or
A
open a
100%.
gym or something of that nature, man.
Big time. Like that's why I'm already doing that, right? Because I've already been past my retirement. It was like I said, I had to give up on the game. I got into MMA to get into bare knuckle. Like
Yeah,
that was the way in, right? And yeah, you see some of these guys, even like you're saying, maybe a second career, but like we're going to see some of these guys at the top of their game, and this be the place they choose to be, right? Like I don't know, Poirier. You're seeing some of these guys show up. Like he doesn't necessarily have to retire from UFC. He doesn't
yeah.
have to. Dude could still go fight for the title, and likely he has a good shot at winning it. Bring him in because his hands are weapons, right? I'd like to see these guys come in and Robbie Lawler. Imagine fucking Robbie Lawler throwing down in bare knuckle.
And Perry
Like,
called him out at the last event. I mean, that
yeah,
would
that one kind
actually,
of bugs me though.
that would. I mean, it would have a draw. I know that much.
It would. Perry does a smart move with that stuff, right? But he's almost being like Jake Paul, as in like, well, that's Robbie Lawler. You should be fighting a high. Let's talk about where it should be. Fight for the title. Fight redneck, and let's go. Like that's the fight.
So we about to be hitting this hour mark, but I got another question that I always like to ask.
Sure.
Do you think bare knuckle fighting can be as big as the UFC?
100%, no doubt. I not only see it, I believe it. In 10 years, no doubt in my mind it's going to be bigger. I think it's on a faster trajectory and a faster pace. Even if we look at the numbers, I bet you're seeing a skyrocket to the moon with that. And I think everybody knows. Like I'm getting into the official fight federation to bring combat sports. So I want to bring as much as possible, but bare
Mhm.
knuckle I believe is going to be the biggest, and that's what I want to latch on to. So you have, whether it be BKFC, whether it be BYB, maybe official fight federation steps into the throws our name in the hat, because I believe that bare knuckle will be the best combat sports on the planet, and I only see it getting bigger.
And I think bare knuckle personally, I think it makes boxing and MMA less interesting when you watch like a BKFC
Yes,
like
big
card.
time.
It just makes it less interesting. I mean, you got 12 bare knuckle fights usually on a card. And you'll have a female fight where teeth could get knocked out and bloody as hell. And I mean, like last fight, what Christine Ferreira and Christine Vicens. I mean, Vicen's face was swollen when she got out of there. And I interviewed her before the fight. Beautiful lady, man. But after Christine Ferreira got or Faria got done with her, she wasn't looking too beautiful. I can tell you that much.
Oh, dude, this is where we are in society, and you know what? That's where we are as humans. It's built into us, right? It's
Yeah,
human nature. You want to see blood, you want to see warriors, you want to see that fight. And then the best thing that I love about bare knuckle and everything is you are warriors. And as soon as the fight's over, for the most part, people are selling tickets. You can mouth off and do whatever else. But for at the end of the day, you're throwing down and you're hugging that person at the end, and like you just went to war. And yeah, bare knuckle, man. I think we're bringing the past back to the future now. It's going to be the biggest thing.
yeah, I agree. Most of the guys do have a lot of more respect for each other after the fights. The women, though, they could tend to get a little bit more personal from what I've seen. But
Oh,
the guys
100%. Like,
are way more respectful after the fights.
yeah, the girls they really good. They have, it's a different, right? Men and women are different. They're just different, and yeah, they can really get into it, and that happens. And again, that promotes it, right? But like you said, again, I think with bare knuckle, the most beautiful thing about it is the fighter safety. As weird as it sounds, is there. Most of that stuff
Yeah,
is
yeah.
superficial. Like I just got busted up. I got stitches in my face. It's like that stuff heals. Your brain, if with those you're taking 300-400 punches in the face with boxing gloves facing bombs, your brain's going to get shook. It's going to get rattled. The evidence is there. It's appeared. Bare knuckle, we're seeing, right? The tests are happening as we speak. It's a whole new era, and you can see that the damage is much less. And I think that it's really gonna take off as high as possible soon.
I got one more question before we go. I interviewed Justin Watson. He just broke the record for the fastest combat knockout in combat sports history. They said it was 2.9, but it looked more like 2.5 to me. Do you think
Yeah.
anybody's ever going to break that in our lifetime?
Man, you know what's funny? You should see my notes and everything from last year. My goal was always like I wanted the quickest knockout. It was like 6 seconds, just in. That's gonna be tough to beat, man, because you gotta drop it right off the bat. The fun thing is
Yeah.
though, he just set the tone and people are gonna be trying for it. I'm 100% gonna aim for 2 seconds. Just you know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's gonna be fun. Like that's incredible. We'll see. We got it. Well, it might. I think it's records are meant to be broken. I think we can see 2 seconds. Somebody hit the
Well,
floor in 2 seconds.
cause that Ruben Ware one was on Robbie. I forgot his last name. I can't think of his name right now. He's gonna be fighting next in Pachinga, but that was pretty quick. It was just like ding,
Yeah.
1-2 seconds, bam. But this one's gonna be tough to break, man. I think
Oh,
because it
for
was
sure.
more like 2.5 in my opinion. Because they showed a video playing it back, and it was literally they were
Yeah.
like 0.4 seconds off. It was a lot quicker than they said.
It's gonna be wild because guys are gonna have to. They're gonna try and time the bell almost like a starting block now, right?
Yeah,
Like it's bing.
yeah.
Like they're gonna. It's gonna. It's gonna be crazy. I love it though. It's cool, right? And that's gonna be part of bare knuckle too. Is the fastest knockout in combat sports history is in bare knuckle, and that's get that toe the line, get them nice and close. That's the only sport that's gonna have a chance.
Yeah, they got the bonuses. You get the knockout of the night bonus or the fight of the night. Now you won't get fight of the night because those usually go like 4 or 5 rounds and whatnot. But you could definitely get knockout of the night if you do it real quick, like.
Sure.
All right,
Yeah,
before
man.
we go, anybody you want to shout out, man? Any sponsors, anything?
Just whoever's rolling with this. The official Fight Federation is kicking off, and we're looking for sponsors. We're looking for people to team up with. So I'm really stoked to put that. Obviously, Petang Wolf, Machine Wolverine, myself as well. Always want to get a name on the back. I've had a couple, but we're looking for some new sponsors. So I don't want to throw any names out. This could be you right here. We talking about. But shout out to Gary Goodrich again for always giving me everything he's got, and the off team.
Well, I appreciate you hitting me up, man. You a friend of the show now. Anytime you want to come back on, just let me know. And definitely we need to politic about that fight party for Knuckle Mania in Philly.
Definitely, man. Yes, let's talk about that. And yeah, sorry, millions.co. Always got to shout out millions.co. They're helping fighters, they're helping everybody with what they got. So check that out. Go check us, both of us, out at millions.co. And yeah, let's see if we can get that thing together. That'd be fun, man. It was an absolute pleasure chatting with you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, let me shout them out real quick because when they reached out, it was like a definitely like a no-brainer situation because they told me every interview I would upload, they would actually make me 3 or 4 clips. They said they would exclusively sell my merchandise on there. They make flyers for that.
Yeah.
They'll set up my links for my watch parties and stuff like that. If I want to do watch parties, I could stream live on their site for free. So it's definitely got some real good advantages for anybody doing any kind of content like this and
Yeah, man.
whatnot.
They're big time. A great shout out and great. I'm glad that, I mean, if it probably wasn't for them, we might not be chatting. So huge shout out to millions.co. And thank you again for giving me the time, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
And really looking forward to working with you some more, brother.
All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, my man. Take care.
All right. Peace. Well, there you have it. Another bare knuckle fighter interview in the books. James Flash Dalzell is fighting for Havoc FC, which is Havoc Fighting Championship that's based out of Canada. And as he said, they were the first organization to actually bring bare knuckle to Canada. And be on the lookout for his official Fight Federation events that should be coming up here real soon and whatnot. And hopefully me and him can link together and see what's up with this Philadelphia Knuckle Mania fight party on millions.co. And definitely go to millions.co with the exclusive merch on there. We got the new lit apparel. We got all the bare knuckle fight interviews we got and the other MMA interviews as well. And a bunch of different clips that you could check out from those interviews as well. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Another episode of the Paul Pickett Podcast. Peace, and I'm out.